with all these decisions with Donald Trump, you have to get under the skin of why it is that he's attacking a particular country or institution and so on. And I
Yeah.
think there's a very personal element to this as well.
Now, a judge in the US has temporarily blocked the Trump administration's ban on Harvard's enrolment of international students. Harvard says the decision was a blatant violation of the law and an attack on free speech, while Trump says the university is guilty of misconduct and other offences. We can speak now to Brooks Newmark, who is the former president of the Harvard Alumni Association and Conservative Cabinet Minister. Morning to you.
Hi, morning.
What have you made of this intervention by the courts in the US?
Well, it doesn't surprise me because everything Donald Trump is doing is effectively against the law. And this is the problem with Donald Trump, is that he sort of shoots first and then asks questions later. So I think this is, the start of a pattern of behavior with Trump, where he'll try and do things, bully people into doing things, but ultimately, hopefully the law will prevail. I think his main argument is Harvard's a private institution, but it receives federal funding. Because it receives federal funding, there has to be some form of government oversight. And I think this is what he's sort of holding on to. Harvard, on the other hand, is arguing more of a First Amendment argument, which is freedom of speech, freedom of assembly, and so on. And I suspect the Constitution ultimately will prevail in this argument. And to be honest, though, I think, a lot of it, is frustrating, for both sides of the argument. I'm not someone who, and as I said, as a Harvard alum, I argued against the whole DEI agenda. I thought it went way overboard at Harvard. There are a lot of things, to be honest, that there are legitimate criticisms against Harvard. But the way Donald Trump is going about it, I'm afraid he'll be on a losing wicket here.
I mean, you talk about that federal funding, which the White House has frozen. It's $2.2 billion, so £1.7 billion. And this, of course, this move by Trump is affecting international students. There's around 6,000 international students who are enrolled at Harvard. And to give you an idea, just a year's tuition is over £60,000. By the time you chuck everything else in, like food and insurance and housing and everything else, it could be £90,000 a year for students to be there. This is going to be hugely disruptive, and ultimately it's going to really annoy them. They're customers, ultimately, these international students, aren't they?
Well, the thing I do feel sorry most for the students, because imagine that you've had a series of universities you've had an opportunity to go to. You've turned down all the other universities. You've chosen